Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Sports. My name is Michael Rasile. This is the show where we get to talk about sports, we get to talk about business, and we get to talk about everything in between. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, you know exactly what to do. Please smash that like and subscribe button over on YouTube. Please, a 5-star review on Spotify. Pretty please, 5-star review and say something really nice about me and my friend and special guest today, Sam Karliner. He's a criminal defense attorney. Okay. More importantly, he's a 10-time Ironman finisher and adoption advocate. Sam, how you doing today, man?
I am doing great, Michael. So stoked to be here with you.
Well, I guess, wait, so the defense attorneys, you're the good guys, right?
My clients think I am, yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, I was just setting you up. That's an easy lawyer joke for everybody. But no, I appreciate what you do. I'm sure you do a lot of great things. We don't need to get into that side too deep of the business. We'll talk about it a little bit. But Sam, very excited to chat about what you do. Ironman, endurance, sports, all this stuff. It's absolutely crazy to me. I'm on my Peloton 20 minutes a day, and that is absolutely enough for me. But excited to learn a little bit more about what you do. But first, before we do that, Sam, the first question I have for everybody on the For the Love of Sports podcast is, why do you love sports so much?
The reason I love sports so much is the live, real-time drama. It's happening. You're watching it or participating in it as it's happening, as it's unfolding. The storylines are changing. There's the excitement, the sadness, the intensity, the anger, the jubilation, just every gamut of emotion, and it's better than clicking on a TV show.
Ain't that the truth? And no offense to anybody who watches the Kardashians. If you've listened to this show, you've heard me say it before. Do you? I just want you to be happy. I don't have any, I don't know why anyone watches that show when you could just put on a college basketball game in March, or if you watch that Super Bowl, right? Right. All of these things that we get the opportunity to do, this is what I live for. Even a college basketball game in February does it for me. I watched a couple last night that were pretty good, right? And it's just, I don't get it. There's something about it, especially fandom that comes involved with it too, right? You can either be as happy as you ever were if you're a Chiefs fan, or you can be the saddest you're ever going to be if you're an Eagles fan, which I'm very grateful for. But no, there's nothing like it, man.
Right, and it changes on a dime.
An absolute dime. Absolutely. I love that. That's good stuff. So,
and that's what's great about being a participant in it, is that not only, you're not just watching it, you're living it and watching it unfold.
With that, because you're living in it, right? As me as a fan, I can sit on the couch, maybe I have a couple bucks on the game, whatever it may be, but I have literally 0.0% any, no butterfly effect will make me have any effect on this game. So I'm kind of just at the whim and at the behest of whatever is happening. You as a competitor, though, you have to feel like you obviously have something to do with it. Does that make it better? Does that make it more frustrating? What are some of the feelings that you go through knowing, I've done better than this before, why can't I now? Or, oh my gosh, this is the best I've ever done, this is incredible. How do you kind of deal with that internally?
So for me, it's almost everything you just wrapped up, and especially in Ironman, you're not talking about a short 20-minute or even 1 hour event. You're talking about, for me, 11, just under 11 hours, others 12, 14, 15 hours. Think about that. That's a long time. And it's how you not just balance your emotions, but it's your ability to go to plan B, go to plan C when something doesn't work. How do you adjust it? You just referenced the Super Bowl, right? Whatever Andy Reid did at halftime, right? He made his adjustments. Well, you have to make that adjustment a half mile or a mile into a swim, 60 miles into a bike ride, 15 miles into a run, and the only thing you can guarantee during the race is you will be making those adjustments.
And you're making those adjustments as the athlete, as the you have to think while doing, right? And I'm sure you practice enough so there's less thinking involved to allow to do this, but that must make it 100 times harder.
It does, and you have to really know your body and listen to your body. I go back to my first race. I remember, everyone's Ironman. You got to train. It's swim, bike, run. Well, no one told me about eating and nutrition, and you had to worry about those things. And what if it's a really hot day, or humid day, or rainy day? So it's just a gamut of emotions, and how you balance all of those things and take it in chunks. Look, I guess in many ways, it's the way I live my life, and I take it in pieces. You can't take one step and I think it's going to be completed like that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of steps involved. Just as another aside, I have a good friend of mine who works for the New York City Marathon, and she was saying this year that it was unreasonably hot And I was like,
Yeah.
or not hot, right? It was like 40 degrees or whatever it was. And everyone's like, yeah, it's way too hot to be doing this. And I'm like, that's nuts. But then when you think about it, yeah, I guess like your body and what you're training and you're used to it being a certain temperature. Like I don't think about any of that stuff. It sounds like you didn't that first time, but now I'm sure it's a very, very particular piece of what you're doing on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, Mother Nature, you can't, you can't plan for it.
Yeah, she has some good tricks up her sleeve. So
She does.
talk to me, like, why? I guess that's my question. Why? What on earth made you be like, you know what would be fun? You know what would be really cool to do this? I just don't see it, but I love talking to people that do because I want to learn why.
I had been a runner really my whole life. I had run a lot of marathons, New York included. I had been doing well. I had been competitive. And I woke up one day and I had known about this Ironman from my childhood. I had seen it on TV and, you know, the iconic Kona and whatnot. And it just came over me that I considered myself a solid runner, a good athlete. How far could I really push my body? How much could my mind control my body? And I kind of really got into it, and this drive to see what was my limit, what was my mental and physical limits. And that drove me into it. And I'll be honest with you, Michael, when I first entered, I signed up back in 2011. I didn't tell anyone. For like 6 weeks, I didn't even tell my wife. Because it was such a huge undertaking. You know, how do I train? What do I do? I never did anything like this before. I didn't own a bike.
Yeah.
I went out and bought a bike. I went to the pool.
I assume that was a big, like, hey, why'd you go and buy a bike to your wife? That was probably a big, like, what's going on?
It was
you
after
hid
the
the
6
bike.
weeks I told her.
Hit the bike. My
Hit the
man.
bike.
All right. Good for
Yeah,
you.
well, you know, and that is one of the biggest jokes, you know. When I die, I just hope my wife doesn't find out how much my bike actually costs.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You're a lawyer. You do fine, Sam.
It's
Come
all
on,
right.
we're good. But no, in sincerity, man. Like I personally don't get it. I hate endurance training. I understand why it's good for you. So again, I'm on my Peloton every day. Only 20 minutes. It's good for me, and that's, you know, hey, I'm grateful for it. I get out. I go on walks. Just the fact that, as you said, 15 hours. Upwards of 15 hours, like that. First, it just sounds boring, honestly. Like that's the thing that gets me. Like I can watch football for 15 hours, but I can't really think of anything else that I could do for 15 hours straight. Like do you get bored, I guess, like during these ridiculously long races?
I can assure you I've never gotten bored.
Okay.
For me, I'm fairly competitive, so I'm always focused on what I'm doing and where I am in the race and how I'm feeling. But I do take the time to look around, because there are some beautiful races. You know, upstate New York and Lake Placid, gorgeous. I was out in St. George, Utah, beautiful. I've been to Kentucky. I've been, you know, there are just some tremendous places. And, you know, you talked about why before, you know, for the love of sports, and I said drama. One of the things that's so cool is during the race is that not only is it your own drama that's unfolding for you, but as you look around, there's a lot of drama around you. Like everyone has their own story. And sometimes you get a glimpse of it. Sometimes, you know, people are doing great. Sometimes people are collapsing, and it's, you know, that agony of defeat type story. And the way Ironman races are structured, you're racing on the same course with the pros, right? So unlike the New York City Marathon where they take off and you never see them, you know, you may see the pros going the other way on their bike. I mean, you know, and a lot of the pros at the end of the race, they'll come down and cheer on people coming in hours behind them. That's really cool. That's like, you're in it.
That is pretty cool. And you know, we spoke prior to hopping on here. Bob Babbitt had him on the show. And one thing that always struck me about him, and really it sounds like it is a very tight-knit community when it comes to Ironman racing, racers, and really everyone kind of being in it together. And I think that speaks a lot to that point where these racers that are professionals in their own rights, and, you know, they're finished, they're done, they're whatever, they could easily go and sit in a cold tub or do whatever they need to do for recovery. But instead, they choose to help foster that community and foster that engagement within the community and go out and cheer on someone like yourself or someone like one of your friends that, as you said, is hours behind because, hey, you're doing this for fun. You're doing this because you love it, right? They're doing it to make money. And then they're still doing that to come out. I think that's a huge, huge piece that will only help the community grow even stronger.
Right. I mean, it's really, it is a sort of special community.
Well, you're all putting yourself through hell, so like you might as well like try and be friendly about it, right?
And everybody recognizes that when you get to the starting line, nobody rolled out of bed that morning and said, "Oh, I'm going to do this." Everyone's been putting in the work, right? So just getting to the starting line is a big accomplishment, and it's going to be a long day. And racers are supportive of one another. You have people that are more competitive than others, but it's that community that I think people thrive off of as well. And it's actually one of the reasons I got into using Ironman as a platform for adoption and fundraising. I finished my first race. It was super exciting, and I felt almost a little empty, like I missed an opportunity. I missed something because I saw so many other people carrying on their cause and using it as a platform. And because it doesn't really matter what time you cross that line. You cross that finish line, you are an Ironman. You have won. And a quick little side story, I was at a race, it's not important, 2015 maybe. I had a pretty good day, pretty good time. And we went back to the hotel and showered, changed, ate dinner. And a lot of competitors and their families come back at 10:30, 11 o'clock for the last hour to cheer on those final finishers. And it's maybe a half hour to go. And this woman comes around the final turn. She's maybe 100, 150 yards from the finish. And somebody reaches over the fencing, hands her a sign. She lifts it up and says, "I have MS. But MS doesn't have me."
Wow. Ooh, chills. That's incredible.
Chills. I tell her now, chills. And I watched her cross the finish line with this huge smile on her face. And, okay, so I was a little faster that day. By hours. Big deal. Like, what she accomplished made me look at my accomplishment like, all right, whatever. Wow, I was impressed.
Well, you still should be impressed with yourself, but that is an awesome story. I think that just fosters that engagement, that community that I think is so prevalent within Ironman and, again, the racers and the racing. What is it? So, as you said, you now have decided and you realize you could use this as a platform. How much, before we get into exactly what that is, adoption advocacy, and you can I want to give you understand your story a little bit more, has that in turn made you more willing to go a little bit further, to go a little bit faster, to enter more races? Just the fact that you now have something extra. It's not just, hey, can I do this? Now it's, hey, I'm going to do this, and this is why. Does that make it more important or stronger in your opinion?
I think it gets back to your earlier question about how I manage my day and what motivates me during the day. One of the things I do for people that support me, I take a big sticker and I write everybody's name on it, or at least their family's names on it, and I put it on my bike. So I tell them that they're with me every step of the way, that they're with me during the race, and I actually write my kids' names on the back of my sneakers as well. So 112 miles on a bike, it's a long distance. So for people that don't know, it's a 2.4 mile swim, which is a long swim.
Yes. Open water usually too, right?
Open water, correct.
Yeah,
so you're not
so
in a pool.
It's not, not an Olympic-sized pool,
right.
like
so you
currents.
and I are both in New York. If you went to the George Washington Bridge and you went across and back, you'd be maybe halfway there. Maybe almost 2 miles, but not 2.4. It's a long way. And then 112 miles on a bike. Just think about getting in your car and driving for 112 miles. But, you're doing it on a bike. And I know that people are, nowadays they're following online, following on the app. I look down and, I see those names on my bike. I'm like, I got people that are pulling for me and counting on, sort of counting on me. And that is a little extra inspiration to push a little harder and not let up.
That's awesome. I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the how you're utilizing Ironman as a platform for adoption advocacy.
So I created my family through adoption. My children are adopted. I currently sit on the board of Forever Families Through Adoption, which is located in Rybrook, New York. And one of the things that I saw that I could use Ironman for was to help educate people and spread the word about adoption as a way to create a family, and also educate the people that are out there that, so certainly for women that have made that loving choice to not keep a child for whatever reason they find themselves in. There could be many. For doctors, hospitals, social workers who don't always, so when they speak to people, they don't always know that's an option. So Forever Families Through Adoption does a lot of counseling to pregnant women to let them know that that is an option. Sometimes people find themselves in a situation at the last minute and they don't have a plan. Education is important. And there's also people that want to be adoptive parents, don't either know how to go about it, or they don't even realize it's an option. So the education piece, the getting the word out there piece, really became important to me. So it sort of blended into the fundraising to help out, and additionally, it's grown into a bit of sort of scholarship because it's not an inexpensive endeavor. And not just for the adoptive parents, but what a lot of people, unless you're in the community, don't realize is that, a lot of times post-adoption, the birth mother wants contact, but maybe not directly, maybe, photos, maybe. And the agency, Forever Families Through Adoption, sort of acts as that intermediary, not just, a month or 2 months out, but a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out. So it helps, connect the birth mother to the adoptive family. They know what's going on with the sharing of pictures and letters or texts or phone calls. So it's sort of encompasses everything, and every little bit helps.
Absolutely. I think that's an awesome cause. I mean, this is the first essentially I'm hearing of it. Obviously, we knew adoption was a thing, right? I have friends who are adopted, family members who are even adopted, and
right.
you wouldn't know if you didn't know, right? And that's kind of the nice thing about it. But it seems like this
Forever Families Through Adoption.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it sounds like they're doing a great job and
they are
helping with a lot of the other things that, as you said, people aren't really thinking of. You think of, oh, you adopted this kid. Well, what about everything else that comes with it? It's not just an easy one-on-one conversation. It's a very in-depth conversation to have over many conversations. So that's awesome. That's fantastic.
It is. And it really, not only is there education for, as I said before, for the adoptive parents and the birth mother, but you'd be surprised at how many people in the sort of medical, hospital, social work field don't even realize that it's a viable option. And just as an example, in New York and in many other states, if a child is born drug addicted, the hospital is required to contact the state. And social workers come in and they take the child, foster care. And foster care isn't always, we're going to give, it's 3 months that you'll have your child back, right? Mm-hmm. And if the social workers and the nurses know that adoption is an option, and they know that Forever Families Through Adoption exists because we've gone out there, we've spoken to them, they make a call. We can have a counselor there just to counsel the birth mother about her situation. It's not a pressure you need to do this, but here are the options. And unfortunately, the way the hospital controls it, you are in a limited time frame. So it's nice to have a unbiased, sort of neutral person coming in and explaining what your options are, where you can have a relationship with the adoptive parents. You can, have contact with the family and the child and pictures, and, it's a much more, I think, beautiful and loving option.
That does sound very nice. It sounds like an awesome cause, and it's great that you were able to, again, take your platform and raise this up and just let more people know about it. I mean, how much money have you raised? It's almost over $40,000.
Over 45, pushing $50,000. Yeah,
that's incredible, man. Well,
yeah,
kudos and
really
congratulations. So, talk to me a little bit more about how you are using this platform. It's awesome that you're putting up stickers, right? And you're writing your kids' names on your shoes, but I feel like there's a little bit more to it than just some names on not just some names. That makes it sound shitty. Sorry. Than names on a piece of paper, right? I'm sure there's other things you're doing to help, again, the advocacy of this program.
Certainly. I would say, well, certainly, being fortunate enough to be on your podcast,
go. That's an easy one.
Right off the bat, right?
Win right there, man.
There was a softball right there. To really get the word out, and I try and talk about it because, as you said, people that are adopted, but if they didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. And
funny story, I literally forget my one friend's adopted all the time, and then when he tells me, I'm like, oh shit, dude, I totally forgot. I had zero idea.
Right,
it's like a new fact I learn every 2 years.
Right, so no one wears it on their sleeve. So getting out there and keeping the conversation going, because it's so many times you find it's 6 degrees of separation, right? And all of a sudden, the more you can get out there through shows like yours, through these informational sessions that we help run through Forever Families Through Adoption, as the word grows and more people know, more people are willing to speak about it. And the next thing you know, somebody's connecting, oh, my secretary has a friend and she's pregnant, or when Forever Families Through Adoption works with birth mothers, we've had situations, you can go on Forever Families Through Adoption website, 3 years later, the birth mother may or may not be in touch with the family. It's their choice, but they stay in touch with the agency. And the agency has been sort of a bit of a support network for them. And then, wouldn't you know, they know somebody all of a sudden who's 8 or 9 months pregnant, finds themselves in their situation, and all of a sudden they make a connection and the person goes, oh, I didn't know. So that's been helpful, and through technology and the upside of COVID, Zoom and platforms, it's much easier for an agency like Forever Families Through Adoption, even though they're located in Rybrook, New York, connect people in Texas and Missouri and California and across the country. I mean, we do international adoptions as well, but it's opened up this whole new world. So there's actually an information session going on this week. It's a Zoom information. There'll be people from all over, right? So it's, the more you can broaden it and connect people and people in different professions and different circles, it's, sort of organically spiderwebs out.
Word of mouth.
Yep.
Best marketing on planet Earth, and that's not even close. I think that's awesome. Again, this is the advocacy that you have, the clear passion that you have for this cause. Obviously, it touches very close to home for you, so obviously
right.
it's pretty important to you. And with that, I want to get back to, again, kind of the hand and glove fit that comes with the Ironman races and the fact that you do have this cause. So you've finished 10 races. There was COVID in there, so I'm sure you could have probably finished a couple more unless you did one of those backyard marathons that we were seeing go viral in 2020. No, okay. How often are you seeing other people, as you said, with causes? How often, how much of the community now knows that you've been doing this for 10 years, 12 years, whatever it is? How much have you seen the community grow around the idea of this adoption advocacy that you have, and being able to really just be like, kind of, oh, that's Sam. This is what he's passionate about. This is what he loves.
So what I would say is I can tell you that in the individual fundraising that I've done, every year it has grown. So
that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. So right off the bat, the fact that I'm able to attract that many more people, I'm not always pulling from the same, 10 family members, oh, please support me, is a good sign. And I put it out on Facebook. I put it out here, there. I've gotten donations. I don't know these people. I mean, which is part of the goal, but it's, oh, my mother's best friend was adopted. I told her what you're doing. I've got a donation. And, maybe that's going to spur the conversation. So it's absolutely grown. I have it on my shirt, my jersey when I run. I've had people come up and speak to me, Michael, during the race. 15 miles in, we're running along. Good for you. I'm adopted or something,
That's pretty awesome.
Give me
Again,
more information. Wait till the end.
yeah, hey, get back to me tomorrow. But no, I think that just speaks to how important this cause is. And right, there's a lot of people, as you said, the 6 degrees
Right.
of separation without really noticing it. How many other racers have you run into that either have been adopted, have like adopted kids? Like, have you had those types of maybe not on the racetrack, but like,
Well,
have you had those types of conversations?
I
as well?
have, and it's actually it's a really touching story. Back in 2013, Ironman had a panel discussion of people that were doing fundraising, and I was fortunate enough to be on the panel. And one of the gentlemen who spoke before me so the Boston Marathon bombing was 3 months before, and he was raising money for the officer from MIT that was killed. And he goes through it, and his connection, and it's emotional, and it's sad, and it's recent, draining.
Yep.
And the panel's discussion's over, and we're walking off the stage, and he comes up to me, and he shakes my hand, and he says, "Thank you for what you're doing." Thank me? Look at what just... As you were speaking, he says, as you were speaking, I'm looking at my 8-year-old son, who's staring right back at me, who's adopted.
Mm.
You know, so it's... You know, sometimes people don't have to come up to you and necessarily tell you, but there is a connection there. And then I've had people come up to me. I've had people see it on my shirt. I had a bike tech day before the race started asking me. I put him in. We were in Austin, Texas. I was able to put him in touch with the agency. And for those of your listeners, if you go on the Forever Families Through Adoption website, there are so many beautiful stories that have come out of it. And yeah, I think sometimes I am aware of my reach, and many times I'm not.
I think that's a good thing.
Which is a great thing. It really is. It just speaks to the power of, as you said, networking and putting yourself out there. And putting yourself out there can be a little bit of a scary thing.
I think you're doing great. We're already 25 minutes into this thing. You've been kicking ass, so you got nothing to worry about.
I didn't start this way.
Absolutely. No, I think that's awesome. Again, I think it's such a cool cause and such a, I want to say interesting one, but again, like there's so many, like if I do a quick head count, I know multiple people that are adopted.
Right.
I just you never think about it. So I think that's important that, it's kind of one of those things that's just always there, but you're not really paying attention to it. It's great that you've been able to kind of become a figurehead, it sounds like, in this type of cause and really helping people understand what's really going on.
Well, and I think to your point, once you know somebody who's adopted, okay, it's just how somebody formed their family, right? It's no big deal. But for me, the educational piece or the informational piece is reminding people that this is an option, both on the adoptive parent side as well as the birth mother side. And that, I think sometimes people miss or not, I don't want to say miss, but forget that that's a viable option. And if you don't remember it and it's not in the forefront of your mind, you may miss it, and life takes different routes and something you may regret when you learn about it later on. So let's get as many people aware now as we can.
Yep, and then they tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and there you go. That's how the
sounds
spider
like a good
works.
commercial.
Sounds like right. That's how the spider web works. This has been fantastic, man. I sincerely appreciate it. A couple more questions from me, and this again. So we haven't really talked about it too much. The first thing I said was you're a criminal defense attorney. So again, you're the good guy, if I'm not mistaken. Like, how are you utilizing your day job to fund your fun job, to fund or to then help progress your passion? I mean, we've gone from Ironman to helping the advocacy. How do you utilize your day job, and where do you find the time to train if you're a full-time lawyer?
So I utilize my day job to help fund literally my training, right? It's, or travel. It's, I enjoy what I do during the day, but I am certainly passionate about it, but it allows me to do these other things that I really love even more. So that's part one. Part two is I've learned not to sleep a lot, and I like to sleep.
Good for you.
So I wake up at early in the morning so I can get my training done before I head out to court.
What's early in the morning? Okay, I was afraid it was going to say 4 for a second.
5 a.m.
5,
5 a.m. for people not watching, but
that's still very early.
that's still very early. Four is occasionally if you really got to squeeze it in, and you need the time, because if it's just the simple hour workout, a lot of times doesn't cut it. My kids are older now, so I have a wife who understands what I do and is incredibly supportive. So sometimes weekend mornings until noon or early afternoon are taken up with training. That's okay before we get into family life. But training, what I have learned, especially as I've gotten older, is I need to keep it fun, right? If training for me becomes a job and I lose the fun, just because I'm putting in multiple hours and I'm losing, family time, it's just not fun. For me, I keep it fun and never take myself, although I am competitive and I have done well and achieved good goals, it's still fun. It's got to be fun.
Sam, explain to me how you can make a 2.4 mile swim fun. Doggy paddle for the first mile? See
Doggy paddle. Well, so if you're really lucky and you're in Hawaii, Cancun, or somewhere else, you can see the fish swim around you.
Yeah, that's easy, but we're in New York, so okay.
But if not, for me, it's taking it in sections, like I said before, and it's sort of looking around saying, I'm a mile into this. I'm in the middle of, for me, I do a lot of my swimming, not in the winter, but in the summertime in Long Island Sound. Water's clean enough.
Yeah. Don't drink it, but
I don't.
It's fine.
But it's sometimes beautiful. Just you're out in the open water. You just look around and it's just you, or I'm with a buddy. It's a pretty awesome feeling. And for me, it's also a very peaceful feeling. If you think about sort of gliding through the water, that sort of quiet serenity. I do a lot of thinking when I'm out there about a whole lot of different things. Getting back to lawyering, sometimes I do my best thinking and strategizing in the middle of a long run.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That's like Sherlock Holmes, right? Like he would go and try and get away from the case, and that way you're able to actually think about it and let everything kind of sink in a little bit. So
clears out your mind. So yeah, long swim workouts. Swimming is sort of my weakest discipline. It's gotten much better. Sometimes it's hard to get to the pool or get to the water, but when I'm in it, and all of a sudden I look at my watch, wow, it's been 45 minutes, and I'm feeling good, and look at that person in the kayak just kind of hanging out, not going anywhere, and Sam comes swimming by.
That's awesome, man. Kudos and congratulations again. It's something that it's just not for me. I figured that out. No, I'm very confident.
Doesn't have to be, but you've got your screen on your Peloton, and you can watch the scenery go by.
Oh, I do those sometimes. Those are really nice. Yeah, those are really nice. I get my workouts done in the morning, because if I don't do it in the morning, it's just not the same. It's way better to do it in the morning. So I'm on board there. Not quite 5, closer to like 7, but hey, we're getting it done. I think that's the important part.
Whenever I can get out of court early and come home and squeeze in maybe a short run or swim.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like a nap or something, because you love sleeping so much.
Well,
I guess that's true too.
That's like evening TV time.
Yeah, right. You're watching TV. You're really just asleep the whole time. So I know that you were scheduled to do the 2023 Ironman World Championships out in Kona in Hawaii. Again, referencing Bob Babbitt. Dude's the best. He's out there all the time. Breakfast with Bob. If you're not paying attention to this stuff, go pay attention to him. He's awesome. But I now, as you said, you're actually going to be going in 24 out to Kona. Explain kind of what happened there and what's so, how cool are the World Championships?
So
of this?
I've been able to run the World Championships, the 70.3 distance in St. George, Utah, a couple years ago. World Championships, it's just a different level of hype, of excitement. It's we were just talking about the Super Bowl. It's you go to your local team on any given Sunday and it's fun and it's exciting, and then you go to the Super Bowl and every vendor, marketer, it's just everything's blown up, huge. So that is the World Championships. All the big pros are there, all the companies are there, and they're treating the amateurs like pros, which is a really cool feeling, right?
Awesome.
I mean, you're not, But to be treated that way just for a day or two is pretty cool. Like it's like the childhood dream of when I was in the driveway at the age of 8. In my mind, throwing up the basketball with Game 7 with the clock goes to 0, and of course it goes in. So it's the World Championships is incredibly cool, and for me, Kona was. It's just so iconic, not just the course, but the weather and everything about it. This past year in a race, I actually suffered a pretty severe bike crash, broke my collarbone. I've needed a couple of surgeries. So as I'm getting that back, I had the option of deferring 2023, which they moved the men's race which is in Nice, France. Beautiful location. But for me, it wasn't Hawaii. So I'll run another long race in the fall, but Kona will be in 2024.
That's awesome. Well deserved. Yeah, it's gotta feel cool. Just like even if they just treat you like a pro for a weekend, like there's something about that. Everyone wants to live like that. Why do you go to Vegas to live like yourself? No, you go to Vegas to have a good time and live it up, right?
Live it up, yeah.
Live a little luxurious. So it's got to feel kind of nice,
right? And when you so in order to qualify for the World Championships, you need. I came in second. It's usually the top 2 or top 3 in your age group. So right off the bat, the level of competition has increased because everybody's really qualified. You just can't sign in. They do have a legacy program. There are other ways to get in. There are other fundraising ways to get in for other causes as well. But there is this sense of, for me, you qualified. This is like, wow, you belong. And I will be honest with you, Michael, the first time I went to St. George, I almost had like an imposter syndrome, like I belong here? Like, really? Like, I really finally made this? Because it just seemed like a pipe dream. But once the race got underway, it's like the old Hoosiers movie, right? The net's still 10 feet off the ground. Mm-hmm. And a couple strokes into it, and had a really good day. So that was at the 70.3 distance. So.
That's all. And what's the one you're going to be racing?
140.6 miles.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
In one day, in what, like 12 hours?
About 11, a little under 11. Depends on the course.
Sorry, I didn't mean to shortchange you.
No, well, look, and
it's a lot. I mean, think about that. An extra hour of that much physical activity, that's a lot.
Well, as my coach once said to me when I had an off day, you still finished. I mean, you still finished well. Like, you have to learn not to be too hard on yourself and not take yourself too seriously, because hopefully you made those adjustments and you got through the race, and that's an accomplishment in and of itself. It's no one will ever take that away from you.
No, not all 10 times that you've done it, the multiple more times that you're going to do it. Sam, this was absolutely fantastic. Sincerely appreciate you coming on one more time. Sam Karliner, he is a criminal defense attorney, but he just uses that to fund his passion of being an Ironman finisher as well as the adoption advocacy. Sam, where can we learn more about you, about the charity that you have? Where can we donate some money, maybe?
Sure.
Give us some of that information.
So the best place, as I said, is Forever Families Through Adoption is the agency in Rybrook, New York. Their website, super simple, foreverfamiliesthroughodoption.org.
Easy.
Makes sense. And there's there's everything that they do, profiles of all their families that they've created. There's my page there, my fundraising page there. So it's one-stop shopping.
Love it. That's super easy. I'll put that in the show notes for everybody so they can check that out. But other than that, Sam, this has been sincerely fantastic. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. It's the only thing we don't get more of, and you use a lot of it exercising. So thank you for doing that. But also thank you for your time. I think the audience as well for theirs. It's the only thing we don't get more of. So really do appreciate you for that. But other than that, hope you have a great day, man. Thank you so much.
I will. This has been great. And, the next time I sleep in, I'll wake up at 7 and we can hop on a Peloton together.
Look at that. You shoot me a text. I might be asleep still, but we'll see how that goes. But no, sincerely, I appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Michael.
Beautiful.